Today on the Happy Families podcast, the thing that moves the needle for us most when it comes to making family life work. We've talked about it before, but every time we discuss it on the pod, we get people saying, oh my goodness, I've got to try this. This is going to be a game changer. And it is. If you have a family, if you want your family to function better, you want to hear what we do every 12 weeks to make sure that ours is humming, in tune, firing on all 4 or 6 or however many cylinders you've got. My goodness, we have 8 cylinders. We've got 8 people in our family. Stay with us because next we will tell you exactly what it is that makes our family function best and how you can do it too. It's the Happy Families podcast. Next. Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast where you get real parenting solutions every single day. This is Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We're Justin and Kylie Coulson. Today it's 28 years, honey. 28 years of marriage. Obviously, you forgot yesterday that it was today, but...
You're so hard on me. I did not forget.
When we sit down to do the podcast...
I just misunderstood that we weren't recording our anniversary podcast episode...
The day before...
on the day of our anniversary.
I know.
You have milked this for all it's worth.
And it has been worth a great deal. It's been so much fun. Kylie, today we're going to have it's actually a pretty short podcast, really.
Well, I'm just going to throw you under the bus because we went away this past weekend, gone, and that was to celebrate our anniversary.
Yes.
And when we got to the counter, the lady said, so are you celebrating anything special? And you said, oh, no, you're just getting away. I think that is worse. Just saying.
Well, it was several days before our anniversary, so we were not actually celebrating. All right, so here's the thing.
Lucky we love each other, right?
In the start of this pod, in the introduction, I've said the one thing, one of the biggest things that we do to make sure that we're on the same page, that our family's functioning well, that we're firing on all 8 cylinders, because we've got 6 kids plus you and I makes 8. What are we doing? What's happening here? We talk about this from time to time, and yet... every single time we talk about it, people go, oh, that's a great idea. Or, oh, that's right. I remember you talking about that and I said I was going to do something and I didn't. And while we were doing this particular thing just over the last few days, somebody asked us what we were up to. We explained what it was and they were like, oh my goodness, I have got to start doing this. In fact, let me go further. It was a breakfast presented for one of the biggest radio stations in the country.
Well, her comment was actually the best ever. She says, I'm not telling him it's quarterly. I'm telling him it's monthly.
That's right.
I want this in my life. She also did suggest that when they go out to dinner, she pulls out the notebook and he goes, of course.
Here we go.
There's an agenda.
Yeah. So let's get into it. We call this our quarterly getaway or our quarterly immersion. And the background is really, really simple. Years ago, when I did a lot more corporate work, I would often talk about what is the most important thing in your life, and people would say, my family. And I'd say, well, we're here talking about business, but when was the last time you went away to a seminar to work out how to do things better with your family? And everyone went, well, I don't know. So I said to them, when you are working in your business, how often do you sit down and put together your year or your quarter or your week? Like, what's your rhythm for that? And most people who are running moderately to highly successful businesses will tell you that they have quarterly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, and they've got their annual big picture, but they tend to work in quarters. It's quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Everything's based on quarters and it's either upscaled or broken down from there. And they do these quarterly business meetings, these quarterly strategy sessions. And I said, well, if your family is the most important thing in your life, when was the last time you had a quarterly strategy session for your family? And everyone in this conference just looked at me like I had eaten a bad burrito. Like, what is this guy going on about? Where is this coming from? And I said, no, seriously, what would that look like? And they had no idea. Anyway, you and I had been talking about it. We had been doing it for a while, this quarterly immersion. I've got a friend who is very, very highly placed in the finance industry. When I talked to him about it, he started doing it with his wife. He got back to me about a year later and said, we've done 4 of them. It's changed our lives. And it's literally as follows. Based on your circumstances, because everyone's going to be in a different situation, you and your partner disappear for 2 nights if you can.
Or the kids disappear and you stay home.
That's right, the kids go to the grandparents, whatever. It depends on who you've got to support you and how that will work, and it depends on the age of your children and so on and so forth. We didn't do it for a couple of years because it was just too hard. But you go away or the kids go away.
And maybe you can't do 2 nights. I mean, that's the dream, right?
2 nights is ideal.
If you can't do the nights, just give yourself a day.
Yeah.
But the kids are at school and from 9 till 3, you are just immersed in this.
You take a day of annual leave or you do it on a Saturday when the kids are organising play dates and you lock in a number of hours and you get focused on your family. If the family is the most important thing in your life, then you get focused on the family. So you and I, our rules are as follows. We go away for 2 nights. We try to get to wherever we're going early afternoon so that we've got the afternoon, the evening, then all of the next day, because we're going to be checking out at like 10 o'clock the morning of the final day. Number 2, we stay within about an hour of home-ish. And the reason for that is we don't want to waste a whole lot of time traveling. This is about getting high quality time together and being focused on what's going on. Number 3, we've got a very clear agenda. While we want to have a lot of fun, we want to really enjoy spending time together, we've got stuff that we've got to talk about. But we also, rule number 4, want to have some fun. We want to be able to enjoy it. It's not all business, because otherwise that'd be less fun. So we want to make sure we have fun. Have I missed any rules, or is that about it?
No, that's good.
Okay, cool
That's good.
stuff.
The reality is that it can be hard to find the balance sometimes. Sometimes we've had getaways where it's been too much fun and we haven't done a lot of talking.
And I've come home annoyed at you because you always want to have fun and I want to be serious, and we didn't get the stuff done.
And then
we had
there's been other times where it's been all serious and not enough fun.
And you come home cranky at me because you didn't get to have any fun and it was all about the agenda.
So it takes time to kind of work it out. But finding the balance is really important. It's such a huge touch point in our relationship to be able to have 2 nights. Let's not worry about the days, just 2 nights of uninterrupted time.
Yep.
Conversations can be had without having to stop and then forgetting where you were because there's been 3 major challenges in the kitchen.
Yeah, something's on fire.
The last 15 minutes.
Every time we go away, the phone doesn't stop ringing and the kid's like, she's not being nice.
That is our fault. We could just turn the phones off and say we're not contactable.
Well, then I wouldn't be parenting expert. So after the break, we're going to take you behind the curtain. We're going to tell you exactly what we talked about on our weekend away so that you can put your own agenda together based on this as inspiration, hopefully, maybe, perhaps, and make your quarterly getaways, your quarterly immersions become par for the course for what your family does to get on the same page and to absolutely thrive and flourish. Stay with us. We're back. This is the Happy Families Podcast, 28th Wedding Anniversary edition. Giving you a peek behind the curtain on what happened on our weekend away.
Where you forgot it was our anniversary celebration.
And we discussed how we could make our family function better. So, Kylie, you've got the notepad there. You're going to whiz us through it. There are a lot of things that we talk about when we do this.
I don't want to scare everybody, but there's about 30 pages of notes.
Like, we're not kidding. Serious work ethic. There's stuff to be done.
This is essentially our first quarter for the year. We're doing a follow-up from the one that we did just before Christmas to set the year up.
Yeah. So in December, we were like, okay, Christmas coming up. We've got Christmas sorted, but what's happening January 1? So Kylie, let's go through the agenda items. What did we discuss? What should people consider putting on their agenda?
I think the most important thing, first of all, is to start with a bit of a mind map. Sit down, brainstorm together. What are the areas of your life? Like all of them. Put them all on the page. That's why there's 30 pages of notes.
Yep.
Because as we pulled our lives apart, my mud map, it had each of our kids' names. There's 6 things to talk about all of a sudden. Holidays, homeschooling, time with friends. What does a calendar look like? Screens and devices. What hasn't gone well? What's worked this year? Our finances, extracurricular, our spiritual lives, family dinners, renovations, physical fitness, babysitting. Like, it just keeps going.
Yeah, and that doesn't include all the stuff that we talk about in relation to the business. So there's the podcast and there's the writing and the books and the travel and everything that I'm doing from a business point of view. There's a day's worth of conversation just in that easily. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're not going to go nitty-gritty, but let's...
No, but the exciting thing is once you've got that mud map, you can pull things apart. And some of those things are going to take 5 minutes to talk about. Some of those things you're going to be talking about all year, because there's so much challenge and tension around how it works.
And there are some things where there's no resolution. This is just what we do. And so we want to make sure that we're working towards it. So the first thing that we picked up was...
I took you down a bit of a rabbit hole. You don't really like it, but I asked you if you could pick 3 words that would encompass how you saw 2026.
Yeah, how I want to feel at the end of the year.
Feeling, what would they be? And I think that has actually changed the way we came together this time.
Yeah, we want to feel vital. We want to be really intentional, and we wanted to have high levels of connection. Yeah.
And so as we go through our weekly catch-ups, where we come together and we chat and we check in,
yep,
we're able to tap in with those 3 words.
Probably worth highlighting, we do the quarterly immersion, but then every week we just go through, here are the main things that we talked about, here were our goals, here's our focus,
how
are
our
we going?
30 pages.
No, but here's just the summary. How are we going? What's working? What's not? Where do we need to get realigned? And that keeps us on track so that every 12 weeks, when we sit down for this, we've got a really good assessment of where we're up to.
So having that mud map, having that focus then helps us as we move forward. If we use that focus as the ability to look at each of these areas of our lives and how they are impacted by what we want to achieve.
So Kylie, once we had that set up, what's next?
For us, spirituality is at the top of our list. That's how everything we do is governed by that. Yeah. So we talked about our spiritual lives and what that looks like, and we broke it down into all the different areas that make up what we consider our spirituality.
Yeah, what are we doing daily and weekly at a personal level and with the family to make sure that that's on track and heading...
How are we serving people?
Yeah, heading in the direction that matters.
Yeah. Then we looked at our physical well-being. This was a really big one.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this a lot throughout the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
This journey that I'm on specifically, but you're joining me.
Oh yeah.
In well-being. And it's not glamorous, but the idea that we are training for old age. We want to be strong. We want to be, it's not about being muscular and fit and all of that kind of stuff. It's about being strong mentally, physically, emotionally, so that we can carry ourselves for as long as we're here.
And so the critical thing about this, whether it's the spiritual, the physical, or anything that you're going to talk about in the next minute or two, is we don't just say, well, what do we want to do? We talk about specific implementation. Okay, so let's say, let's stick on physical health for just a second.
Well, we broke it down, right? We looked at diet, we looked at our routine, we looked at exercise,
and then we broke how many days are we going to exercise? What are we going to do for exercise? Where are we going to be doing it? Who are we going to be doing it with? What time are we going to be doing it? Like, we broke it down so we know exactly what exercise looks like. Same with diet. What are we eating? What are we not eating? What's our meal list? What's our program? How are we going to get it? Do we know enough about the diet that we need? Macros and micros and all that sort of stuff. Like, this is why we need 2 days.
And then if exercise is huge and diet is changing, which is going to require more of me in the kitchen, we actually have to look at routine. How are we going to make this happen?
Yeah. So if we're going to have food and we're going to be eating at this time and we're going to go for a walk after dinner, that means we've got to have dinner at this time, which means we've got to start prepping it at this time. And how's that going to work? Because we've got busy lives and we can't be at home at this time to get the prep done, so make sure we have the meal on time. So it's kind of like a reorganization of our lives so that we can achieve the things that we want, or recognizing that the things we want are unachievable and therefore making the compromises that are necessary to get as close to it as we can given what our life structures demand of us.
So the next big one was finances.
Yep.
This actually spilled over on a few pages. We've set some really big goals this year, and we're working really, really hard to achieve them.
Yeah, the Reserve Bank's not helping us to achieve those goals. Gosh.
But then on top of setting those really big goals, we then set stretch goals.
Yeah.
So we're going to try even harder than our big goals to achieve this.
Yep.
And what's really cool about the whole goal setting thing and the idea of stretch goals is some months you're not going to make it. You're going to be completely just squashed
so
by life.
Our commitment is we are not fanatical about this. This is what we're working towards. And simply by being on the same page and working towards it, we get closer to it than we would if we didn't have these conversations at all and we were just flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got spiritual, we've got physical, we've got financial.
Then we looked at family holidays. We broke the year up into quarters and we looked at what we would like to do as a family in each of the quarters. So some quarters, it's not even about going away. We've booked in family photos for this quarter. This is really important to us.
Or when are the kids seeing their grandparents, because the grandparents live a long way, and how can we get them there?
We've got a family holiday booked in later in the year, but then at the end of the year, we're just doing a family outing together.
I remember speaking to friends, and they had their holidays planned for this year and next year. This is going back years ago. And I was like, who plans their holidays that far in advance? But now we've started doing this. It's like, oh, we know where we're going and what we're doing because we've sat down and done the work. It's amazing.
We talked about renovations.
Uh-huh.
And we pulled them to pieces.
Yep.
And then we talked about work
all the
and
work
podcasts
stuff.
and blah, 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 blah. And then more finances. Mm-hmm. And then we started talking about relationships. We talked about just you and I. What were the things that irked us about each other? What we were driving each other crazy?
A quick note on that. We don't say what's irking you right now. We don't get into the nitty-gritty of how we can be...
Oh, let's just be real. You said you didn't like that I fart.
No, kindly don't say that, seriously.
We're getting into the nitty-gritty here. And you may have also said at this quarterly getaway that it shows you that I love you the most when I don't fart in front of you.
Yeah, it does.
There you go.
That's real sacrifice. Because you'd feel better if you did, probably. But I can't believe you said that.
Holding it in.
Can't believe you said that on the podcast.
We actually calendared our quarterly getaways in December. So we know exactly where we're going, when we're going, how we're going to achieve that.
So they are locked in, which means that we are going to do this every quarter so that we can stay on the same page.
We recommitted to monthly date nights and we calendared them. They're in the calendar.
Yep.
We know that on the fourth Friday of every month, that is our night. And we also talked about how our weekly catch-ups and how that was important.
And once we've done you and I, then we talk about each of the 6 children, and we also talk about time with friends. They're kind of the...
Vitality, intention, connection.
Yep.
If those are our goals, then these are the things that matter.
And so we were planning on making this podcast last for approximately 6 minutes. We thought we could give you a quick run through of what we do when we have our quarterly getaway so that you can get the vibe and go and do it yourself. But as you can see, it's impossible to even describe it in less than 15 to 20 minutes because there's so much to do. And yet, if I go back to the very first thing I said in the introduction of this podcast, it's these quarterly getaways and having these conversations about all these things that matter to us so profoundly that helps us to be aligned. It helps us to stay on the same page. It helps us to listen to one another and see what's important to the other so that we can consider that in all the decisions that we make. And truly, I think that it's, if not at the very core of our success and happiness in our relationship, it's certainly one of several fundamentals that makes such a difference. Well, maybe it is because it allows us to discuss and review and plan for and work through everything that is fundamental to who we are as a couple and what our family is.
So the absolute highlight from this weekend's getaway was because we put so much effort and intention into December's catch-up in setting up our year as we went through and revisited everything that we spoke about, specifically with the kids. That was actually the real powerful part for me, was just being able to tick all those boxes and say, oh my gosh, look, like by tracking.
Look at the progress over 3 months.
We can see progress.
How's it going to be at the end of the year? Yeah.
Because you get so caught up in the mundane of everyday life. It's so hard sometimes to see progress. But we actually have written proof of the things that we were worried about, the things that we talked about needed to happen to improve things, and all of those things have happened. And so the last thing is, now that we've done that review, what are the action items moving forward? Because it's about progress, it's about intention, it's about connection.
Okay, so that's what we did, and that's what we think will make a big difference for you in your relationship. Kylie, we have a wedding anniversary to go and celebrate, so let's wrap up this pod now. And I know we celebrated last weekend, but we need to do something now, so let's go. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great weekend. I'll Do Better Tomorrow returns next week, as well as the other stuff we've got to talk about on the pod, which is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides research, admin, and additional support. And if you would like to know how to make your family happier, please visit us at happyfamilies.com.au or go to Booktopia and pre-order the brand new boys book, Boys by Me, Building Strong Young Men from the Inside Out. It hits stores in June.